At least I feel loved. Do you ever feel like you've been set up, Ian? I mean, here's the reality. I mean, I'm now, I don't do this for a living, actually. I'm just a truck driver, I feel sometimes. Like, this is not what I've been trained to do. Although I'm being developed to preach. I'm actually preaching my third sermon in 4 Sundays, so this is getting to be a habit. I actually thought, last week was probably my best ever, Ian. And I wasn't here. You guys actually didn't hear it. I was down in 100 Mile House, 108 Mile Ranch, doing it down there. So you have to take my word for it, that was the best ever. And then, Ian, now you've put all this pressure, all this. But here's what I think is going to make this actually the best ever. And it's going to be your participation in it. As Pastor Ian mentioned last week, because I actually did go back and watch, and I thought that was one of your best ever, just to kind of, we'll give the platitudes back. But, he mentioned that as we continue on through our series in Proverbs, we're going away from an exegesis style of preaching into a more topical one because the text almost demands it. And as I was thinking about it, Matt, there's a little bit of a ringing in there, so I can just kind of bring that down a little bit, please. But as I was looking at it, it almost felt like a TED Talk style coming into it, because that's what TED Talks are. That's what people do. They come in, they pick a topic that they're experts on to share their knowledge, share their wisdom that they've gained throughout the years, and they just want to do that to better people, to help say, hey, this is this journey that I've been on, and let me share some of what I have for you, and take what you want with it. Now, in a TED Talk, they don't invite audience participation typically, unless they crack a joke and they want them to laugh. Well, I am going to actually invite you to participate this one. It's almost like a choose your own adventure. You're going to have input on how this sermon goes. I told Pastor Dave this morning, I'm just coming up here, and you know what? The sermon's only half done because you guys are going to write the rest. So you're the ones that are going to make it the best ever. Sounds good? Okay, so as we get into it, thank you, Michaela, for getting that up there. I'm going to bring my phone out because it is my remote control to go through these slides. Gotta love technology, because that pointer I've never had success with. I've entitled it, Help, I Need Somebody. And we're going to start with some words. I call them ancient philosophers, but they're philosophers of the 20th century. And they had these words to say: so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. But now these days are gone, I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I've changed my mind and opened up the doors. In so many ways, my independence seems to vanish in the haze. But every now and then, I feel so insecure. I know that I just need you like I've never done before. Help me if you can, I'm feeling down, and I do appreciate you being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please, please help me? All right. Here's where you guys come in, right off the hop. Who were the ancient philosophers of the 20th century that said those words? There you go, the Beatles. I would accept that you're correct, and I will accept the Beatles as well. These guys had it figured out as they sing these lyrics. And they're also the words, I believe, so accurately reflect our human condition we experience today, and they set the table for our conversation. We're continuing on, as I said, in Proverbs, taking a topical approach on the topic of counsel versus isolation. When we encounter situations in our life, or just even doing life, is it better to seek counsel to help you out, or is it better off to do it in isolation? And so, here's our question. Should I, A, seek counsel? Should I, B, go it alone, or C, a bit of both? And the reason I'm asking this question is because as I was preparing this, I thought, you know what, I don't know if there's anything in here I can tell you guys that you haven't already heard. I mean, this is actually probably pretty common knowledge on how we should do it. So, show of hands, how many of you guys think as we go through life we should be seeking counsel? Oh, that's pretty good. How many of you think that we should actually just do things in isolation and do it ourselves? Just figure life out for ourselves? Nobody. How many of you think that it's appropriate at times to maybe a bit of both? Sometimes I should seek counsel, sometimes I should do it alone. Okay, cool. Well, what do we do? Do I, as I'm going through my own life, and you can apply this to yourselves, do I, A, as I'm going through life, do I seek counsel? Do I go it alone? Or is it a bit of both? And I would expect the majority of us would probably land somewhere in C. There's some situations in life where we're going to absolutely seek counsel, depending on what it is. There's some situations that we're going to go it alone for whatever reason. And there's some situations where I might actually do a bit of both. Or it's just going to really, it depends. It depends on how awkward the situation is. Do I really want to talk about it? You know, I can actually say without reservation that my own personal style throughout the years has been to figure things out on my own. I remember a time I was, 16, 17 years old. I'd hit that stage in life where I knew everything. Just ask me, I was the expert. Ask my dad, actually. He'll tell you exactly how much of an expert I was. And I remember this situation. I was exploring how to progress in relationships with the opposite sex. I was finding a girlfriend. Things were going great, or so I thought. And yet the wisdom of those who were much older and wiser than I would say this is not a good situation. And so my dad sat me down one day and in his awkward dad kind of way said, tried to steer me and give me some counsel. Tried to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. I don't think it's very good. And he started to share some of his experiences. And in my own wisdom, I'm like, Dad, thanks for sharing that, but I think I got this figured out. And I'm going to just figure this in my own way. And I had to learn the hard way that I don't actually have all this figured out. And had I listened to my dad, had I accepted his counsel, had I actually sought his counsel, things would have been much better. And going through life, that's been my own style. It's like, you know what? I'm an independent person. I'm a guy. I can do this. I'm a leader. I'm smart. I've got this all figured out. And sometimes it's worked out. And most of the time, I think going back in hindsight, I could have done things better had I absolutely just maybe asked some questions. Why? Why do I choose to do things in isolation? What's going on? And I was going to get a flip chart, but I think, I want your help on you guys' input because I think a certain way. You guys might think a little bit differently. So I'll just yell it out. Why are there times in my life I want to do things in isolation? I don't want to seek counsel. Why do you guys think? What's going on? The people you know in your own life, why do we choose to do things in isolation? Because we're proud. We're a proud people, 100%. And I'm the chief of the proud people. I will lead that tribe. Anything else? Because I think I have control of the situation. Luke, you wouldn't know anything about that, would you, buddy? Luke's a good friend of mine. We were actually having this conversation last night, and he asked me if I had any good sermon illustrations, and he just helped me out. So that's your fault, buddy, but thank you for that. Anyone else? Why would we do this? Sorry? We don't want to be a bother. I don't know how many times people have come up to me, man, I was going to call you, but I didn't want to bug you because you're too busy. We don't want to bother people. Why else? Why else? Sorry? It's embarrassing. I'm the only one that's gone through this. No one's going to understand. I'm going to look like an idiot. It's embarrassing. I don't want to talk to people about this. What else, guys?
Historical upbringing.
Your historical upbringing. There's something going on in your past that's holding you back. Absolutely. Couple more. Let's have a couple more. This is fun. Fear of judgment. And you could probably say it another time because, we are scared of being judged by people. 100%. I am. One more. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You know what's funny? I was having coffee with a friend of mine yesterday who just come back from a sheep hunt. And he went up with a friend of his up in the mountains, and he's a very patient man, this friend of mine, and he knew what was going on. And he had the guy that he was hunting with, he wanted to charge off, and my friend just kind of wanted to sit there and be patient and watch for the sheep to come out. And the guy said, we got to go. Nobody cares about sitting here. I mean, we use that phrase all the time. There's people, nobody cares. Like, it's wild, right? These are all reasons why we do things in isolation, don't seek counsel. Like I said, you guys know this. You guys could have written this. This is just a conversation. What do you guys think the benefits are if we flip it on its head of seeking counsel? Help me out with this one. Why Why should I seek counsel? Different opinion. People will see things from a different perspective than you. Absolutely, Braden. Someone else. Accountability, 100%. You know, one of the books I've had to read for aerial leadership, the author wrote, Henry New, and he says, you know, it's hard to follow Jesus when you're alone. You don't have that accountability. Something else. You know it, buddy. 100%. 100%. Other people are smarter than Dave. I love it. Somebody else, sorry. And that goes for all of us. Well, I love the family atmosphere we can have in here, guys. This is fun. Someone else. You are indecisive, Mel, 100%. That's how you and Jamie get along so well, because so is she. Drives me nuts. Why else should we seek counsel? Someone has gone through it before. Absolutely. One more, guys. I don't believe that for an instant, Randy. Randy said, I don't know all the answers. Lean on me. Yeah, absolutely. All kinds of great benefits from seeking counsel. You know, the writers of Proverbs say this, 15:22 says, without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. Without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. You know, I'm very familiar with the sawmill industry, right? We spent 16 years with West Fraser. When I became a planer superintendent, one of the things that I realized in a hurry was I was actually responsible for the planer maintenance. I'm not a millwright. That's not my background. I'm somewhat mechanically inclined. And so what I needed in there was the help, the counsel of those who were educated in maintenance, those who made that their career profession, to come alongside me and say, hey, this is our perspective. This is what we're seeing. And I'll tell you what, if I did not absolutely take advantage of that counsel, we'd have breakdowns. We'd miss stuff. Things would go sideways. Name your vocation. Things that you're just starting out on, you've got no experience in. Absolutely, they can come alongside and say, hey, with many advisors, we're going to get things done a lot better, a lot quicker, a lot more efficient. We're going to have less headaches. We're going to have less downtime. Name your situation, folks, whatever your current context is. If you try and do it alone and you're trying to make all these plans, it'll probably fail. And it's even worse for micromanagers because they think they have to be the guy and they have to manage everything. And they're so busy managing everything, they forget to listen. I know that quite well. I've had a micromanaging problem in the past, and it's bit me in the butt. What else does Proverbs have to say about counsel? Plans are established by counsel. By wise guidance, they wage war. Again, it's coming into saying, hey, other people are going to have perspective that you don't have. Our brains are so finite, right? I've got limited capacity. And a lot of people that I've talked to have very limited capacity. And so we're not always great at seeing the big picture, especially if we're stuck in the trenches. And so sometimes it's great to find advisors who have that 20,000-foot view, see what's going on. They can come in and coach us and guide us. In the Old Testament, as the Israelites are coming out of the land of Egypt, Moses is the guy. He's the guy who's responsible for everything and what's going on. And he had control, and he was overwhelmed with stuff. And his father-in-law had to actually pull him aside and say, look, Mo, you got to settle down here. You need to invite people to actually help you lead because you can't do it all on your own. There's a leadership principle in there. Like, just because we're leaders doesn't mean we've got it all figured out. We need the help, or our plans will fail. I feel bad for pastors who don't actually have support around them. My brother-in-law, he's a pastor in Alberta, and I ran into him a couple weeks ago as they were here visiting, and I asked, hey, Mark, how's it going? He says, well, I'm preaching 5 times a week. I'm like, you're doing what? Like, the guy's just exhausted. He's holding down 3 jobs to make ends meet. He's preaching 5 times a week. He's trying to serve, and he's just being run ragged. It's like, you need some help, bud. You need some advisors. You need some people to come around and support you because you're going to lose this war. You're going to lose this battle. Proverbs 27. This is actually one of my favorite ones about counsel. Oil and perfume make the heart glad, and the sweetness of a friend comes from his earnest counsel. in the last 5 to 10 years, I guess, in my own life, one of the things that I've realized is it's great to have good friends who love you because they'll tell you the way it is. And it's not out of a place of judgment or condemnation. It's a place out of love, and they're actually walking with you and supporting you. There's many times in my life where I've needed someone to talk to, and they can come along and give me counsel, give me perspective that I'm missing in my situation. A friend sticks closer than a brother. The guy that comes to mind, I talk to him once, maybe twice a week from 100 Mile. His name's Carter, really, really great friend. And we just talk about what's going on in life, what's struggling, how we're removed from each other's local situations, and yet we've got that friendship that hasn't broken down. I mean, it's been about, just about 4 years now since we've been in 100 Mile, and we're still talking every week. We're trading texts, we're encouraging one another, we're counseling each other from his perspective. And I grew up in a very conservative background. He grew up in a very charismatic. And so what we actually affords us the ability to do is trade our viewpoints and actually become more grounded in our faith and actually kind of blend the two together so we can be full, well-rounded men of God. Very, very much as iron sharpens iron, so does man sharpen man. Just love having good friends that I can call up. I had coffee with a couple of them yesterday, just being able to sit down and talk about life. The authors of Proverbs are urging us to seek counsel. And it's doing it from a place of love and mercy and grace, not judgment or condemnation. Proverbs also has a warning. And I think this is what I've struggled with over the years. Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. So this was my teen years, right? Breaking out against all sound judgment. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. Here's the word picture that kind of came into my mind as I'm reflecting on this. You ever get in a conversation with someone, and you're trying to share what's going on, and you're trying to share your perspective? I'm sure, Ian, you've never run into this. But here, we'll use Pastor Ian as the picture. Here he is trying to share some counsel with someone. Say, hey, you know what? I'm going to set you up. I'm going to show you what you're missing and put you on the path to good and right living. You're going to benefit from this. Listen to the wisdom and the experience I've gained over the years. Because Ian's old, so he's seen a lot. And as Ian's talking, he can see the wheels turning in this person's mind that he's talking to. And the person is so busy trying to reframe their answer and how they're going to reply and defend themselves to Ian's situation, they're not even listening to what he has to say. They're just, it's like Charlie Brown listening to his teacher, right? All they're hearing is wah, 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 the muted trumpet sound. Like, all they're concerned about is actually getting across their point of view. They're not interested in listening. They're just interested in their own opinion. My mom used to say, you were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. But we usually I always got that backwards. It's pretty wild. And even now, sometimes it's hard. When I think, as a leader, as someone who's going out and doing things and leading a group of people and setting up the game plan, sometimes I think I've got all the answers figured out. And I'm not interested in people's input. I'll let you guys in a little secret. I've done a number of behavioral profiles over the years. And each one of them encourages me to allow people to have input. Because I have a problem. Because I know it all. I have all the answers, or so I think. And then it says, you know what, you need, because I'm such an outgoing personality, because, yeah, sure, I'm good at what I do and stuff and everything that's going on, I forget that there's perspectives that I'm missing. And every one of them, even the most recent one, says, you would do well to sit back and allow other people to have a voice in the circumstance and situation. Pretty wild, right? So I think, kind of going through the Proverbs, there's nothing really in there to argue with. It's pretty cut and dry. It's pretty clear. There's not a lot that we have to expand on. You're bright, intelligent people. You know this. Your own lives would speak testament to it. But man, I think we can agree that we should be seeking counsel in most, if not all, aspects of our lives. Well, okay, where do we find it then? Where do we turn to find counsel? And this is probably not what the author of Proverbs had in mind, but here's where a lot of people think they're turning to for counsel. The news. We love the news. Sensationalism. We think we're seeking counsel. You know, I'm going to be informed on current day events. The news is going to inform me of the opinion that I need to do, and it's going to dictate my actions. Social media, Facebook. Man, we love Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, man, all these kinds of things that we can kind of go on. There's all kinds of opinions and people giving counsel up on these social media platforms. The Google. Man, I love the Google. The Google has made me look like a genius when it comes to helping my parents troubleshoot tech issues. You know, when you know how to use the Google effectively, man, it can kind of give you all knowledge, all kinds of knowledge. But what's missing with the internet, with the social media platforms? What's missing with the news? Personality. I'll take that. Yeah, that fits. You're missing the... Sorry? What? Bias. You can be very biased. 100%, Vicky. You know what's really missing from social media? It's the relationship. You can't have an active two-way dialogue with someone who loves you and cares for you really well done through the noise that is social media. We've seen that, you know, and even give you guys a peek in the curtain, we've been kind of going through a vision and values process over the years. And oh, by the way, guys, we need to meet again. We know that. But some of the feedback we got from those questionnaires, overwhelmingly, there is a sense that people are longing for community. Everyone I talk to is longing for community. We've got access to all the social media, all this stuff that's kind of going on, and yet it's leaving us empty, unwhole, kind of like wanting more. We want to be having a relationship with people who can walk this journey with us. We don't like doing it in isolation. It feels uncomfortable. It feels lonely. We were created for community. And so all these things, TV talk shows, knowledge, we'll just throw all these opinions out there, but they're really not grounded in anything that's going to help us unless we're turning to the Word and going into having these relationships with people that they can walk with, the ones that we trust, ones that we love. As I was actually preparing for my Arrow journey, I had a conversation with Taylor Williams. He's their director of engagement, and really helps people figure out whether Arrow is right for them. And the one phrase, it was about actually a year and a half before I actually applied for Arrow, I was having this conversation with Taylor. And the one question that always resonated with me and still resonates with me today, it says, who's leading you? Because what Arrow has realized is we all need someone in our lives who can lead us, that can walk with us, that loves us and cares for us. And says, hey, we need these people to help us along because it's going to make life a lot easier. And I was in a transition in my life. I'd been at the mill where I had leaders in there. Kind of had to say goodbye to that. Was kind of doing my own thing, starting my own company. Sure, we've got some leaders in the church, but I needed more. I needed a different perspective. And now I've got a leadership partner. His name's Phil, a great guy. He kind of walks along with me and gives me that missing perspective that I've needed, that I'm not finding in my current cultural context. And so we've broadened the doors. We need people to walk with us, to give us this insight. There's this fellow in Denmark. He realized that people were just some of the greatest assets we could ever have when it comes to walking this stuff. And he founded a group called the Human Library. And here's the description they have on their website about the Human Library. It says this: the Human Library is, in the true sense of the word, a library of people. We host events where readers can borrow human beings serving as open books and have conversations they would not normally have access to. Every human book from our bookshelf represent a group in our society that is often subjected to prejudice, stigmatization, or discrimination because of their lifestyle, diagnosis, belief, disability, social status, ethnic origin, etc. What a fantastic idea, isn't it? To say, hey, we've got all this information. In fact, we're oversaturated with information. Everywhere you go, you're being bombarded with information. So that's not the point. It says we need to actually have access to the people that have lived this out so they can share their stories. They can say, this is how it is. This is the wins I've seen. This is the losses I've seen. This is my struggles. They let us know that we're not alone. Actually come and provide the support. You can go take out a human book. I thought to myself, what would happen if we applied this same practice to our church culture? I mean, let's look around the room for a minute. Feel free. Look, it's going to get a little weird for a minute, but look around the room. Look at the diversity. Pastor Eden, you were talking about this morning. We're becoming more diverse than ever. We've got people in the medical profession. We've got people, of course, we've got pastors here. We've got people who you're mechanically inclined. We've got transportation engineers. We got a weather systems expert. We've got a jack of all trades from Australia. That's you, John, by the way, just in case you didn't pick up on that. Love you, buddy. We've got parents. We've got people who've raised kids in this crazy and chaotic time. We've got people who are raising kids. We've got people who have dealt with health issues all over the place and have found wins and successes. I mean, what would happen if we just took a minute to identify who it is in our sphere, in our people group, in our family that can help us walk through life? All over the place, in our current cultural context, people are looking for counseling. They're looking for help. They're looking for psychiatric help. I mean, the counseling business has never been better. Did you know that if you want to try and get a counseling appointment in Prince George, it's going to take you 6 months to even get your foot in the door for a consultation? Like, it's the amount of people looking to have conversations with people that can help them is enormous. That's the real pandemic, folks. Is we're hurting. We're hurting in that regard. We're looking for people that we can share our struggles and our sorrows with, and looking for anything. Like the Beatles, help, I need somebody. I need somebody. And I think if you really look through your Bible, what becomes clear to me is that's what the church is supposed to be. We're supposed to be that primarily for ourselves first, and then in our neighborhood around us. We're here to actually practice and get it right and help each other. And as people see us loving each other, they're going to say, whoa, what's going on in there? I want that because these guys have got something going on and I need a taste of that. I need more and I want what's going on there. It's up to us to actually help each other, to counsel each other, to walk and say, hey, there's not going to be any fear. There's not going to be any judgment because chances are I've been down that road already if you're coming to talk to me about it. My list of failures, folks, is long. And one of the things I've learned over the years is actually to even help me process some of that is to share that with somebody and actually help them. And say, hey, learn from my mistakes. Do this easier. I mean, this is why I love just interacting with people because somehow, some way, I hope that by knowing me, your life is blessed even more. Not by anything that I have to bring to the table, but because you can say, hey, I'm going to do better than you did because you're helping me. We're walking, we're doing life together. I mean, where does Jesus play in all this too? Right? It's hard for me to talk about counselor, seeking counsel wisdom without actually bringing Jesus up. We should discuss it. In Isaiah chapter 9, we often refer to this at Christmas time. We go through this passage over and over through the Christmas holidays. Because Jesus, the coming Messiah, is given some titles. You guys remember what they are? For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor. His very first one up there. Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Jesus is the wonderful counselor. And as we know over and over again, it's been talked about from this platform. It's been talked about in these halls, in these rooms. It's been talked about on the streets. Jesus is inviting you into this relationship with him so he can be your wonderful counselor. This is what he wants to do. This is something that he says, I'm coming into to come and take your burden, take your load. All you who are weak and heavy laden, carrying this burden, come to me and I will give you what? Rest. There's this invitation from Jesus to say, come get counsel from me. Because I get it. I was there, Jesus is saying, at the very beginning of the universe. This whole wisdom principle, this wisdom that has helped create and sets order to all the laws and the rules of the universe. I have access to that, Jesus said. I'm giving it to you. Just come to me. Paul writes, cast all your cares upon him, upon Jesus, because he cares for you. And Jesus, being the smart and intelligent and best leader there ever was, has again come back and says, do as I do to his followers. And that's why I think the church is well positioned and well set up to do that. If we're going to truly be like Jesus, we need to be emulating. We need to be doing that as well. We need to be doing what Jesus did, and it's to be counseling each other, it's to be walking with each other. Again, not in judgment, not in fear, not in condemnation, but in grace, in mercy, and love. You know, as the Father God, as Yahweh introduces himself to the people of Israel again in Exodus, he introduces himself as a God who is gracious and compassionate, full of mercy and abounding in steadfast love. And that's the approach that we need to take with one another in this time. As we walk with each other, as we counsel, we need to love on each other so lavishly that people see that and say, man, you guys serve a great God. You guys have got something figured. You guys, I mean, the world is seeking, again, our same philosophers, the Beatles, they have a song saying, all you need is, they're looking for it. The world is looking for it. We have an opportunity to help ourselves and help them by following Jesus, by doing the things that he did, by saying, I'm all in, and I'm going to walk this path as you lead, Jesus. So how do we respond to this then? How do we respond to this message, these words that we already know? And we know this, folks. I'm convinced that we know this. Well, there's a few ways that we can respond. And we're going to kind of set the space up for that now. There's the practices that we do every week in a way that we can respond. And the first and probably the most important one, the most visible one is communion. We can come to the communion table. We can come and celebrate what it is that Jesus has done for us as we do. It's the central focus of all we do. Jesus said, as often as you do this in remembrance of me. And it's come and saying, celebrate. You know, I love that song, What He's Done. We're going to sing a song, Yet Not I, But Through Christ in Me. And I can't sing that without breaking up in tears anymore, because just the gravity and the lavishness and the graciousness that God has lavished and put on us, it's just, it just moves me, because Jesus has done it all. And he says, come to the table, come get a touch, come have dinner with me, and come remember what I've done. And so you're invited to partake in the communion supper as we serve. And servers, I'll invite you to come up now and prepare the table. You know, our prayer room is open. Jamie and Morgan are going to be in the prayer room. Or yes, Jamie and Morgan are going to be in the prayer room. If you need a touch of prayer, if you need someone to just talk to or pray with, they're going to be there to minister to you. They're going to intercede on your behalf with the Father. Feel free to, it's open, it's available, it's accessible. You don't have to go there in fear or shame or condemnation, thinking, or even embarrassment, thinking they're not going to understand. You know, Jamie's my wife. Trust me, she understands, because she's got to put up with me. But she's walked some tough roads as well. So go for prayer. We're going to sing a few songs in response and worship. And we invite you to sing again these great words of truth that affirm what's been going on, that remind us of what it is Jesus has done for us. Hey, buddy. You know, through the second song, our members of our hospitality team are going to come and receive this morning's offering. You know, maybe later on, you just need to have a conversation with somebody. Maybe you don't know who you can talk to. You know, you can talk to me. I can point you in the right direction. Pastor Ian, Pastor Dave, any of our elders, someone you know here. If you've got something that's bugging you that you want counsel on, I don't want to leave you hanging, because that's not very fair. So come talk to us. Come talk to one of us. And, if we don't know the answer, we don't know who to talk to, we can put you in the right direction. We can bring around that support network that is the church to help you out.